in a country. Laura, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna. Yes, as I told you before in the beginning of the conference, that you will see a lot of me here today. So now, okay, let's switch to my presentation and be more coherent and going further into Latvia's session. I'm actually very honored to open this Latvia session where we will share together with Mix and also with Maya, we'll share how did we do actually with the deposit system here in Latvia, as 1 year has already passed, a little bit more than 1 year, and actually I think we have achieved a lot. But to go further, I would like to point out about what my presentation will be here today. Actually, I tried to build it around 3 questions and also did it from the governmental point of view. So the first question is, why did we do it? There were also some other previous presentations already went to that why, but I will give you some more numbers from the Latvia's point of view. How did we do it? Because we actually had a very short time frame for actually all the job was done in 1 year to prepare the system. That was, I think, was very big challenge, and I'm very grateful for Mix and his very actually small team to do all the job necessary for our system to start to operate at the time set in the legislation. And the last question, where are we going with that? So what are the next steps and what discussions are going on here in Latvia regarding maybe the new scope, or maybe some other changes from the legislative point of view. So why do we need a deposit system? Anna already mentioned those larger political statements actually in the European point of view. So European Green Deal is our reality now, starting from 2019, where the European Commission adopted the Green Deal. So actually the circular economy is one of our main terms when we are speaking about not just economy as such, but also the sectors previously not so much associated with it, like waste collection and also waste management. And therefore, also Latvia went, of course, in the direction following the European lead and adopted the national level development planning document called the National Waste Management Plan. It's not the only one actually considering and connecting environmental issues, but is one of the most important ones if we are speaking about the deposit system and the packaging as such. And in this plan, Latvia followed the lead, as I said, of the European Union, and decided that by actually set very ambitious goals on the national level, and decided that by 2035 only 10% of household is buried in landfills. Why it is important? Because, and I am referring to this actual rate is because packaging waste is the second largest fraction if we look at the household waste as such. So it is very important that if we look at the lowering of this buried amount of waste in landfills, we need to think about the packaging as a waste in a very high level. Of course, if we are referring to the national stated rates, I also need to mention that we have agreed on a political level that by 2025, in the end of the 2025, at least 65% of used packaging should be recycled. and this direction is moving on, and you see the goal for 2030 is even larger percentage, so we are going to that direction. If we look at the deposit system on the national level, in the national level regulation, also there are targets set like this by 2025, that 77% collection rate of used single-use plastic beverage packaging sold in the market should be collected, and by 2029 already 90%. So because the plastic waste is one of the most important if we are considering the buried field, the buried amount of waste in landfills. There is not such a big fraction of, for example, glass or metal. Of course, there are not just those numbers that are important, and why actually we went in the direction of the deposit system. Also, Anna mentioned, and not just Anna mentioned, all other speakers also mentioned this reduction of environmental littering and the problem as such. In Latvia, we don't have like large mountains as Romania and mountain lakes filled with some plastic waste, but we have our seashore, which is very long if comparing to other countries, and where we previously could find quite a lot of environmental littering, including the beverage packaging. I hope Maya will give more details about findings this year, how much of that fraction has been gone, but already from last year we see that the results are quite improving. And of course, also what is changing is the public opinion about this packaging waste, that is not waste anymore, that is actually a resource which could be used for more than maybe one time. If we are thinking about those glass refillables, and not just glass refillables, in Latvia we have only those, but in other countries, as in Germany, we know that there are also plastic refillable bottles. But also this is a way how we reduce the need for new natural resources. And we need to put more effort on that direction. And of course, why deposit system is important, that is, it puts more encouragement to the general public to get involved in the packaging management or waste management as such. Here you can see our time frame for the deposit system operation introduction in Latvia. After almost 2 decades, I would say, and we are not very proud of that. And long discussions, amendments finally in the packaging law to introduce the deposit system were introduced in the end of 2019. It was actually, it was stated in the law that the period could be longer. It could be for operator to prepare the system. It could be 2 years, but producers agreed on this very short timeline for 1 year. I think it's very, very ambitious to do that in 1 year, but as I told, we really managed to do that, and we are very happy. But yes, what followed was, of course, as this is like a almost public procurement procedure went through from the State Environmental Service, and so we were organizing this kind of public procurement procedure or contest for the operator. So it was very short time also for the operator to prepare the offer and the system implementation plan. So this deadline for the submission was the end of September 2020. In the beginning of 2021, we signed the agreement with the LTD, Latvian LTD, SIA deposit system operators for 7 years. Those 7 years are stated in the law. So after the 7 years for one operator, there will be the next competition procedure going on in order to choose the next operator. So there could be some slight changes also who is probably going to organize that, but I think that our operator is still doing a very good job. So hope hope they will try to do that as well in the next period. And yes, so system started to operate in on February 1st last year. It was also stated and set in the law that the transition period would be half a year, so 6 months until the end of July last year, but we didn't stop with it, and also already during the last year we decided to expand the system with including new products, those spirits, strong alcoholic drinks, and PET and metal containers are now in the system, and not just that. There are slight changes, and I will give you more details a little bit later. But also for these new products, to introduce them and to adapt for the general public, the transition period was also set for half a year. I think it's actually very important, this transition period, because you know, to introduce such a system, it's very difficult, and this time actually gives more time for producers, retailers, and also for general public to adopt to these new habits we are introducing with this system. I will not go details into our legal framework, but there are three main legal acts in Latvia for the deposit system under which it operates. There is this packaging law, as I mentioned before, also national level regulations of the Cabinet of Ministers, which give more detailed regulations, and also achievable targets in the system for collection rates and for recycling rates. But what is important regarding the packaging law, that it states the responsibility not just for the deposit system operator, but also for those obligations for retailers and producers to be in the system. And the third one, which is written here, is the waste management law. Why it is important is actually that, and why I was putting in that, because we changed the little legislation in order to help the operator after, and that is why I would like to more effort and more enhance you to do this collaboration and cooperation with the operator from the government side during the introduction of the system. Is that because during the risk analysis and possible solutions, how could we deal with the system and be more effective, make it more effective, we decided that we need this kind of reduction of administrative burden from the State Environmental Service. So we changed the need for the waste transport permit, which is normally required for the waste management transportation. So we are considering this used materials, used beverage containers, not as waste, but as resources. So there is no need for the operator to have this waste transport permit from our side. That was made as a legislative amendment just because of the deposit system. If we are looking at our framework as it was and as it is now, there are all those three classic types, as now I know, in all deposit systems. Not in all, but most of them. We have those cans, glass bottles, and plastic PET bottles. The volume is set from 0.1 to until 3 liters, and of course the main I think the main products, and Mix will give more details on that. In the system, we see that there are water in the PET and beer in glass. So in Latvia very popular is this beer being produced in the glass bottles. So this is very large amount of the whole beverage packaging. Actually, also managed here in Latvia. So yes, all types of beer are included, and this year we also increased the alcohol percentage for the alcoholic cocktails included in the system. Previously it was stated, I think it was 6%, and now it's 15%, because we understood that there are quite a large proportion which was not included in system but are still used outside of households. So those cocktails were one of the fraction we could see in the littering, in those environmental littering around us. And yes, as I mentioned, that also stronger drinks are now included. And we also added syrups, and this was in Latvia. I don't know in other countries how many you are using syrups, but actually it's not as small fraction as I would think in the beginning. So we are now including all non-alcoholic drinks except dairy products, which is also one point of discussions for maybe further scope enlargement. Latvia is also not maybe different from other countries so much, and also it is stated in the law that the system operator actually is working on the zero profit principle. So all the revenue earned is it needs to be reinvested into the operation and development, further development of the system. And it is financed by three main resources: income from materials, of course, collected and handed over for recycling, deposit fee paid by customers, as us, general public, which is not returned to the system, and of course payments or fees from the beverage producers for participation in the system. Yes, Anna already mentioned that we are the controlling state governmental institution of deposit system operator, and we're actually working very closely with the system operator during the first year. We're meeting every month. Sometimes I think we were very difficult as supervisors for the operator, but I think it's very necessary to do that in order, to stay on one side in this journey, because we understand each other's problems, and I think it's very important that we could be there for each other as well when we needed that. And yes, what we did, of course, look is this network of collection points, and also the involvement of retailers, because it is and still is one of the biggest challenges here in Latvia, and I think it's not just in Latvia, as we heard from the minister from Romania, that the retailers are also not willing to be in the system as much as they would be like to be there. And of course, yes, infrastructure, different kind of IT solutions. We were looking in all of these areas connected to the beginning and of the operation of the system. And I think one of the most important parts is this still public communication plan, because these are new habits the public needs to develop, and it's very important to include the public from the beginning in that process. Yes, now we are, of course, following how the DIO is doing, and but we are not meeting as often now as we were before. Now it's once in a quarter, approximately, but we of course we have still two times a year we have the report from the operator regarding the recycling and collecting rates, and not just that, also the involvement of producers and retailers. So we are following very closely if the targets are met and all the mandatory obligations have also been reached. So yes, that is what I would like to mention. And one more thing, we also are the authority who are managing the natural resource tax in Latvia. So we are those who are providing the exemption of this tax for, in this case, for the deposit packaging. So basically for producers involved in the system. Who then are those who need to be involved? If we are looking at the producers, this is set in the packaging law, that the amount of the beverage deposit packaging produced by the producer needs to be 150 kilograms or more in a calendar year. So here you can see also that amount expressed in the kind of packaging numbers, or it's approximately 500 pieces of 0.5 liter glass bottles, or 5,000 pieces PET bottles, or 10,000 metal cans. So that is approximate amount from which the producer needs to be in the system. So there is no other way for the producer. And now, if we look at the data, more than 300 contracts has been signed from producers with the operator. What it gives operator, is there any benefit for not operator but for producer to be in the system? Yes, there is. As I mentioned, that we are the managing authority for the natural resource tax, so the exemption of the resource tax gives kind of more will, actual will for participation, and it is actually designed so, because if you are paying the tax, it means that you are not environmentally friendly. In this case of scenarios, here I gave one example. If we are looking at the PET bottles, how much would be the natural tax if the producer would decide to pay this tax for the amount of 150 kilograms per year, and the deposit system participation fee. And I think it's very clearly seen that approximately difference is quite huge. In a case of transparent PET bottles, it's approximately 50 times less in this participation fee, which the producers had to pay if you comparison to the natural resource tax. In total, last year we granted the exemption for 16 million euro for producers involved in the system. The second most important group, of course, are the retailers. It is also stated in the law regarding of their obligation to participate in the system. In Latvia's case, it's depending on the store size. So in the state cities, which are 10 largest cities in Latvia, if the area of the store is equal to 300 square meters or larger, then retailers need to be in the system mandatory. In other administrative territories, in Latvia's case, it's a little bit more than 30 municipalities, because in Latvia, after the administrative territorial reform, we have 43 municipalities in total. The area of this store is equal to 60 square meters or larger. This is actually one of the biggest discussions now going on, and actually already from the beginning of the system introduction is going on about this store size of 60 square meters to be involved in the system. If we look at what we have reached, and now we have more than 1,400 collection points in total. Most of them are automated. Third part is manual collection points, and maybe what is different, because I don't know more details about other countries. We have those common or joint collection points as well, which gave the possibility for retailers to cooperate between them, and if the distance was not larger than 500 meters from the stores, from different stores between them, for space between them, between those stores, they could arrange this deal without our involvement. If this distance was larger, the agreement from the State Environmental Service and also from the local municipality needed to be gained. So in our case, we got requests for about 30 those different collection points. Most of them were also granted. When we were very looking also of this issue, because why it is important is also it was already stated here. One of the guarantees for the successful implementation of the system is its availability. So the distance you need to go in order to reach your closest collection point. Here you see our collection point system on the map. For population for about 1.9 million inhabitants, now actually the distance is very low. Just 1% of the population live further than 10 kilometers from the closest collection point, and 14% live just further than 2 kilometers. So the distance is very low, so that makes this system very comfortable for consumers. If we are going to the discussion about those 300 meters actually offered by the retailers, then we need to understand that in sorry. I was too fast. Yeah, the total number of collection points would decrease by 60%. So that is political, of course, and common agreement if we are going in that direction. But if you see on the map, the distance is quite far, and then around 14% of population would live further than 10 kilometers from the closest collection point. Challenges with the participation of retailers and also our involvement for partly was very crucial, because, as I mentioned, that not every retailer wanted to be in the system. So we provided the consult first principle for those not willing to sign the agreement with the operator, and we issued around for 80 different retailers those informative letters to do that and to sign the agreement before the system was introduced last year. So not everyone followed our consultation, and we unfortunately had also to issue decisions on actions to prevent the inconsistencies, and in total also we needed to apply fines of around 30,000 euro for those not participating in the system. What I would like to point out also here is that unfortunately there are still this situation when the contract is signed between the retailer and operator, but unfortunately retailer is not collecting, not offering collection. So we are using outside help in order to investigate those situations, but in some cases it has lead to the breach of the contract with DIO. So unfortunately, the sanctions had to follow and still are following in this year. But those stores, the number of them are very small. As you see, it's only 4 stores this year, not being in the system. So the result is good, but we would not like to use these sanctions as a kind of reminder for the retailer that they need to be in the system. But of course we understand them because, as I said, it was very challenging, and also we understand that it's also kind of there is a need for new habits, and of course not everyone is liking this new role as a collector in the store, and not every salesperson is willing to do that, and there is also this discussion about the hygiene requirements, but actually we, together with DIO and also the Food and Veterinary Service of the Latvia, we developed guidelines aimed at preventing the risk of this hygiene risk, and also tried to be more kind of put more impact on operator to also organize logistics more efficiently in order to also kind of help retailers with their lack of storage, which is the second biggest issue, lack of storage for keeping those empty packaging containers in their stores. Is there any benefit for retailers? And then the question arises, if they are not willing to participate. I can put it more like question mark, because I don't have the comparison how much actually it costs for retailers for the retailers to organize the whole process. But what I can see is that the numbers which they are paying for the managing of each packaging, so the management fee is calculated per every item collected, either manually or in RVMs. So of course this is a question where also other instances are involved, and this year also Deloitte is making an audit here in consideration regarding this amount of the management fee, and is it enough for retailers? But what I can see is that the management fee paid from DIO to the retailers last year was about 5 million euros. So it's not for free they are being in the system. So they need to do it mandatory, but they are also financially paid for that. Results of the first year, yes. As a controlling institution, as already mentioned, that we are actually very happy with the results. The only rate which was not met in the first year was the collection rate of the plastic containers. So you see, our kind of goal was 70%. We reached 63% of plastic, but the difference is not very high. In all other rates, you see that they even exceeded the provisions. So basically, yes, the results are good. Here I also put the glass collection and recycling rates in order to show you how much good we also have done with those refillable glass bottles and this reusable sales packaging. If you look at the data from which was placed in the market for the first time, and how the amount was in the end of the year, that we can see quite clearly that more than half of all, 2.6 times every kilogram put on this market was used again. So it's a very, very good result. And if we use, of course, look at the reusable packaging, So more than a half of it is glass. So yes, this is a very, very, very good result. Oh, I'm sorry, just kind of pushed too hard, I think. Yes, and my last slide is about the next period, which will start in the beginning of 2029. And as I told, that we need to kind of go through those political discussions at political level regarding the evaluation of the existing system. Also, maybe the need to do some amendments in the regulatory acts, and of course we need to quite fast arrange the announcement of the tender for the next period operator in order for the operator to prepare for the system, not in a 1 year, but in a longer, more efficient period. So thank you for that.